Hey Fee, it's been such a pleasure to work with you in my time as Deputy CEO under your leadership. We're heading into the last few days of your time here at the Healing Foundation, and I just wanted you to reflect on your time here as Deputy CEO first, and then as leader, the CEO of the Healing Foundation.
I would start with just my gratitude and how grateful I feel at this point for everyone who showed faith and trust in me in carrying out the duties of the roles.
Over your period as Deputy CEO and the CEO, there's been a lot of significant milestones for the organisation, and can you maybe just talk to us about a few of those and maybe some of the ones that you're most proud of?
When I joined as Deputy CEO, we were fighting for annual funding. In my time, we secured the first multi-year funding agreement, which said a lot about us being partners in the work, not just a grantee. We had a delegation meet with the Prime Minister, and that's where we were able to convince him that there hasn't been enough done yet at the Commonwealth level by the Australian government in terms of acknowledging the truth of the history and providing some kind of redress for survivors who were under some of the acts of the Australian government. We were there in the Prime Minister's courtyard when that Territories redress scheme was announced. We pushed for it as a member of the Coalition of Peaks. So we also had the league convener, Pat Turner, there. It was critical that the Australian government showed leadership in terms of acknowledging the experiences and how they affect survivors now and what practical support could be provided. So it was almost $400 million on the scheme and on a practical support payment. And then I guess the national broadcast of Make Healing Happen and launching Make Healing Happen at the National Press Club. We were able to have Harry Williams there as chair of the Youth Reference Group and Ian Ham as chair of the Stolen Generations Reference Group alongside me on that stage to launch that huge report. And it's work we're still trying to push forward. We're still trying to get buy-in and collaborators and champions and change makers on board to help us take forward in a big way the healing movement.
As you head into your new role at the ANU, which is at the National Centre for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Wellbeing Research, how do you feel that the organisation is sitting at the moment?
I feel really lucky because every time I've taken on a new role, it's like I have these little signs and signals and the way is made for me. And a big way that was made for me in this transition to this new role is how strong and stable I feel the organisation is. But also knowing that there's not one person in the org I wouldn't work with again because of the way they show up. Part of showing up too, though, is embodying what healing looks like. And so I know when I look around, and particularly with our First Nations members of staff, they've done that work to be able to talk about what healing is at a personal level and then at a family level and a community level.
What are your thoughts on the current state of healing in this country and the understanding of healing for our mob? And where do you think healing needs to go?
Look, I wish there was more of a focus on the survivors. There were only 54 recommendations of bringing them home, and we are yet to have them all addressed and implemented in full. Look, I think, your dad worked on it, my mum worked on it, we know how important it was back then, and the shift in conversations, political and otherwise, about injustice and how we best address it as a nation. There was so much hope in that. And then you fast forward many years and there's so much hope when Kevin Rudd apologised on behalf of governments. But I think what survivors are saying is that it's great to have our experiences validated and acknowledged. But how do we experience peace and dignity now? How do we close these gaps within the gaps that everyone knows about now, thanks to the work of the Healing Foundation? What is their direct response and an urgent response to allow them that peace and dignity? You know, one of the common questions that you'll get asked is, what's healing? And how do I know I'm healing, and when am I healed? And it is the recovery from after experiencing trauma, and it is restoring all those connections to culture, to community, that keep us safe and well, you know, that have always kept us safe and well. And there are still many barriers to that. And we've got to keep showing people how they're contributing to those barriers. And look, when you look at Australia, there's still too many people willing to perpetuate trauma and harm and hurt. The channels by which people can say whatever they feel about us as people. For example, they're growing, and we don't have a lot of control in how people talk about us in the media and otherwise. All we can do is keep putting out our own beautiful media. There's an unprecedented level too of people leaning into the work we're doing, engaging with us on what it is going to take for us to heal as a nation.
What do you see as your future aspirations?
Auntie Pat Dudgeon, she reached out and she said, please come to Darwin, please come to this gathering. And I know why she asked me to do that, because she helped me reflect on the journey a bit. And a lot of the people, like Helen Milroy, for example, they started this work. They're the founding board members, and they went around, and so our leading psychologists went around asking people what they wanted from a healing foundation. And so to be with them and have those conversations over the last few days, it felt a bit full circle, but it was lovely to have their blessing into the new work. I was given the opportunity to say goodbye to everyone in that forum, but I said, no, I'm taking you all with me, because this work is absolutely linked, and it's we're all doing little bits of the work together now. It hasn't always been like that, and so, you know, it was quite clear when we were sitting there and having those yarns that the work's interconnected, absolutely, and I'll probably spend my whole career working on our well-being, restoring what was lost, helping us to understand what it is that keeps us safe and well, and it's always been the way we do things according to culture, protocols, law, customs.
Fee, it's been such a privilege the short time that I've had working with you, and I know that we will have more times together into the future, and I can see the contribution and the impact that you've had on the Healing Foundation, but the wider community. So we thank you for everything that you've done on the healing journey of the country, but also leading this important organisation. I guess I just wanted to know if you had a parting message or something that you would like to say to our community and those connected with this foundation?
We've got a lot to do together to heal. We know culturally we heal collectively. So it's really important that when we're having discussions about the way forward, that we're just respectful and I want to even say loving and kind and considerate, because that's how healing happens. It's through every kind and warm interaction, and we won't always agree on some of these big ticket items or even some of the smaller ones, but I really have learnt from survivors that healing happens when you feel safe, when you feel supported in an environment, validated, when somebody goes out of their way to make you feel that you're in a place of strength and not in a place of distress. And we know when you're in a place of strength, you're your most resourceful self.
Thank you so much for your time today, Fee. We're going to miss you, but I know that I will be seeing you around and you will always be connected to this work. But thank you for everything that you've done.
Oh, look, thank you to you. I'm so glad that you came along when you did. And, you know, I believe we're pretty rare. Like, we've grown up having these conversations about what's needed at our kitchen tables, and we've had it instilled in us that we've got to contribute our strengths to these causes, and this is unfinished business for our country. And so for you to come along and commit to leading in the way that you have, yeah, and I know it's ready for you, if I can say that. The team are ready for you, and I'm excited to be alongside still and watch you take the next steps as leader of the org.